Welcome back to Cut the BS, Build the Dream, the podcast where we strip away the excuses and get straight to what it takes to build success, wealth, and impact. And I'm your host, Brittany Kosip, and today we're diving into two of history's greatest minds, King Solomon and Socrates. Now, I know what you're thinking, Brittany. Why are we talking about two ancient dudes in robes? Because trust me, these guys had more to say about business and leadership than half the so-called gurus on Instagram. One was a king, basically the Jeff Bezos of his time. The other, a philosopher who asked way too many questions, kind of like that one friend who turns every conversation into a TED Talk. But here's the thing, both were obsessed with wisdom, but they played the game very differently. So what can we actually learn from them? And more importantly, how can their wisdom help you win in business, leadership, and life? So let's cut the BS and get into it. Let's start with King Solomon, who was kind of like the CEO of a whole empire. King Solomon was the son of King David, and he ruled Israel around 970 BC. He wasn't just any king, though. He was known for being the richest and wisest of his time. He built these grand temples and he made Israel into this economic powerhouse. And people would travel from all over the world just to hear him speak. His name is literally a synonym for wisdom. But here's what's crazy. He didn't start out with wealth or power. What made him legendary was his one request. And that's when God asked him what he wanted. And he chose wisdom. And because of that, he got everything else, riches, power, etc. So what can we learn from him? Business lesson number one, smart decisions create opportunities. Solomon's wisdom wasn't just about knowledge. It was about discernment, the ability to see through the noise and make the right decision. And in real estate, in leadership, business, that's everything. Early in my career as a broker, I thought success meant saying yes to every opportunity, every agent who wanted to join, every deal that came across my desk, every partnership that seemed good on paper. But just like Solomon, I learned that wisdom isn't just about making decisions, it's about making the right ones. And I had to start cutting through the BS and asking, is this agent truly a fit for my brokerage's culture? Does this deal align with my long-term vision? Am I building something that lasts? Or am I just chasing these short-term wins because they feel good? And once I started leading with discernment, instead of trying to do it all, everything changed. My brokerage became stronger. My team was becoming the right team. And the opportunities that came my way weren't just BS. They actually mattered. And here's Solomon's warning, though. Even the wisest man in history could get distracted. He had all the success, but he lost focus. He got caught up in the power, the wealth, the distractions. And in business, the second you stop being intentional, you start slipping. And I've seen it happen. Brokers who chase numbers instead of building culture. Agents who focus on the next big deal instead of creating real value, that commission breadth, that transaction by transaction. And so the lesson, wisdom isn't just about knowing what's right. It's about staying focused on it. Okay. So now let's talk about Socrates. Socrates was pretty much a street philosopher who asked way too many questions. Socrates was born in Greece around 470 BC. Unlike Solomon, though, he wasn't a king. He didn't have riches and he never wrote a single book. Instead, he spent his time walking around Athens, questioning everything and making people really uncomfortable. He believed that true wisdom, it wasn't just about knowing all the answers. It was about asking better questions. His whole thing was, I know that I know nothing, which is pretty much a fancy way of saying, let's talk about why you might be wrong. Imagine having a friend someone who never gives you straight answers, just more and more and more questions. Annoying, right? Well, it turns out that's how real learning actually happens. So here's a lesson from Socrates. Ask better questions. Socrates' biggest strength wasn't having the right answers. It was asking the right questions. And let me tell you, in business, this is gold. Let me give you another example from my own life. I saw this firsthand in my own brokerage. For a long time, I was asking, how can I recruit more teams? How can I get more agents? How can I do this? I was focused on growth. on bringing people in and hitting those numbers. But guess what? I was asking the wrong question. The real shift happened when I started asking, how can I add value to real estate agents? How can I add value to real estate team leaders? That one change, it changed everything, because instead of chasing numbers, I started creating solutions. I focused on supporting team leaders, giving them resources, support, coaching, an environment to thrive in. And suddenly, I really wasn't recruiting them anymore. I was having people come to us because I was giving them something that they weren't getting everywhere else. And that's the power of better questions. They shift your focus from what you want to what you can give. And when you make that shift, success follows. So if you had to put both of them side by side, Solomon versus Socrates, who would win? Well, it's who had the better approach. Do you follow Solomon's wisdom and build an empire? Or do you go full Socrates and just question everything? And the answer is you really need both. Be like Solomon when it comes to business. Learn discernment, make smart decisions, build wisely. Be like Socrates when it comes to growth. Stay curious, question everything. Never assume you know it all. Because here's the real BS we have to cut. Thinking that wisdom is just about having the right answers. No, true wisdom, it's about staying open to the right questions. All right, let's wrap this up with something actionable. Here's my challenge to you this week. First off, be like Solomon. Where in your business do you need to make a wise decision right now? Stop overthinking, trust your wisdom, and make the move. All right, number 2, be like Socrates. Question one thing you've never challenged before, a belief, a business strategy, a habit, something that might be holding you back. And before we go, I have to ask you, how do you cut the BS and get closer to your dream? It's being honest with yourself. Where are you lacking that wisdom? Where are you lacking discernment? Where could you be asking better questions? So that's it for today's episode of Cut the BS, Build the Dream. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, success isn't about waiting, wishing, or hoping. It's about cutting through the noise, doing the work, and building the dream you deserve. Now, go make it happen. I'll see you next week.